to various refineries in the U.S. and back into Canada at Sarnia. So it's oil provided to the refineries to produce refined product and
so the oil is pumped out of Sarnia and then delivered to the refineries, is that
Yeah, there are refineries in Sarnia, there are refineries in Detroit, there are refineries in Toledo, all of which take crude oil from this line.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I get your last name?
Daniel, D-A-N-I-E-L.
Hello.
It's President and CEO. Thank you.
How do you clean up the soluble portion of the spill?
I'm sorry,
The soluble portion that dissociates from the oil.
Oh, no, good to meet you.
Well, it'll all be, much of it will be sucked up with vacuum trucks off of the surface of the water. And by the way, that is the one advantage of fairly wet weather that we've had. You know, on drier ground, then you're going to get it seeping into the ground. But with wet ground, basically, we're able to suck it up off of the water. And that's the main recovery. And then, of course, we'll do any shore cleanup later as the river level drops. We'll do any shore cleanup.
What about that portion that just goes into the water? There's nothing that
well, that's very minuscule because, to tell you the truth, it's lighter than water, so it sits on top of the water, and not.
Last question: do you have any models to know how fast or far it will go in the next few days?
The problem with models is that it depends on the flow rate in the river, and of course we've got a lot of water in the river right now. But what we have detected is a significant slowing of the progress of the oil down the river, and that's why we're confident we can contain it before it gets to Morrow Lake.
Okay, where is the edge right now?
It's about 16 miles downstream from here, which puts it... no, I believe not. It still has not reached the county line, as I understand
but
it.
It probably will, right? Or you think you'll get
well, it's slowed very dramatically. In fact, we noticed we were up in the helicopter first thing this morning, and then at the end of the day today, and have noticed a dramatic slowing because we now no longer have oil seeping into the river. So it's slowing down quite significantly.
And of course, you have storage for the disposed product, or whatever.
Yes. Yes, what we do is we take it into vacuum trucks and then into tankers. We haul it back to storage facilities at Griffith, Indiana, or on to Toledo, Ohio, where we have tankers.
I'm the drain commissioner from Kalamazoo County, and so we spend so much effort trying to keep that river clean. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and we spend so much effort and have for 55 years in running what is the biggest crude oil system in the world of keeping the river clean too, and we apologize for the mess that we made and we're going to fix it.
In a system like this, there's no secondary containment that's possible over fragile resources. I mean, is there any way that could have been avoided? That, as you said, the pipe shut off and that amount was inevitably lost. Would there ever be consideration of having a secondary containment for that amount?
Well,
in the vicinity of a fragile resource.
It's a real challenge with pipelines because, of course, you cover thousands of miles,
right.
And
no, I don't mean the whole thing. I mean just in certain areas. But recognize that the number of streams crossed between Edmonton, Alberta, and the delivery point are so many that if you tried to build containment berms around, it would probably disrupt the. Well, in fact, in some areas we do use a heavier wall pipe, and that's one of the things that we certainly will be looking at. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Mr. Danny. Sorry to make you repeat some things here, but what is your company going to be doing in response to this?
We are going to be doing everything humanly possible to clean up, remediate, and compensate everybody that was involved in the spill.
The questions have been raised about wildlife. What's being done about it?
We have set up a rehabilitation center for wildlife so that any wildlife that has oil involvement can be taken to that rehabilitation center, cleaned up and in the right environment and released. So we've just got that established this afternoon.
Do you know yet what the cause of the problem was?
No, we don't. We will be investigating that with federal investigators, and as soon as we know, we will be reporting on that. We don't at this point.
Do you know how far the oil will get downstream?
Right now the oil is about 16 miles downstream from the leak point, and we feel pretty confident that we now have it contained. It may go a little further, but there's no longer a source of crude oil feeding it, as we've got that totally shut off. So we don't anticipate it'll go much further. As absolutely we do. And as I said in our press conference earlier today, this is our responsibility. It's our mess. We're going to clean it up. We're going to help the families involved and ensure it'll be months before we've got total cleanup, but we are absolutely going to do that.
What about the wildlife? What effort will be made to save?
We have set up, as of today, a rehabilitation center for the wildlife. It is just now going into operation in order to be able to collect wildlife that have any oil exposure and take them to that location for rehabilitation. And that process is just starting. One of the things that has been requested by the fish and wildlife people is to ensure that a qualified person brings any birds, for example, that have got oil contamination to the site rather than the general public doing that.
Will people be hired to do that, or will that be a volunteering?
I understand both. We have hired a company to establish the rehabilitation center, but I understand there are a number of volunteer organizations that are wanting to be involved as well.
And can you describe the effort to move the oil to one side of the river so that when it reaches Lake Marl, it's more easily collected?
Well, first of all, we hope it will not reach Lake Marl, and don't expect it to. But the key thing when you're trying to contain oil on water is to ensure that you channel it to the side rather than just stringing a boom right across the entire river, because often the oil will then flow under or over the boom. So if you look at our booms on the river, they're kind of angled to pull the crude to the side where it's then vacuumed off the surface of the water.
Have you had any maintenance issues with this particular pipeline at all as of recently? I mean, has it been maintained? Is that something you're looking into?
The pipeline was installed in 1969. It's been there for a long time. There's always routine and regular maintenance on a pipeline such as this, well, any pipeline for that matter. We go through regular remediation, internal inspection of the pipeline to determine whether there are any defects in it, and then corrective action. We dig up, cut out, and replace any sections that are problematic.
How much oil leaks? Do you know?
We estimate 19,500 barrels of oil.
And that's how many gallons?
I believe it's around 840,000 gallons.
And why didn't the pipeline automatically shut itself off? Why did it take so long before you knew there was a problem?
Well, we did automatically shut down as soon as the pressure drop was noticed in the pipeline. And so the control center, the operations, did shut the pipeline down. Realize that when you do that, we've closed valves upstream and downstream immediately, then all the oil that's in the pipe drains out because it's under pressure. And of course, we were also in a very low area with a lot of water, so that precipitated a lot of oil coming out of the pipe.
So it was unavoidable to spill 800,000 gallons. It's designed that.
Well, I wouldn't say designed,
well,
but certainly, yes. Yes, because it's effectively the distance between the two valves, depending on the terrain. You know, if you happen to have the leak in a very high area, then you're not going to get a lot of drain up out of the pipe. But if you're in a low area, then obviously it's all going to drain out.